If you've been lying awake at night thinking, I really need to get out of here, maybe you've already watched my videos on toxic workplaces. Maybe you've recognised yourself in the signs to look out for. And now you're stuck in that awful in-between place where you know you need to leave, but you don't know how. In today's video, I want to do two things for you. Firstly, I want to reassure you that you're not foolish and you're not ungrateful for wanting to leave. And secondly, I'm going to give you a realistic 5-step plan to leave a toxic job in the next 3 to 6 months without damaging your finances, your CV, or your nervous system. So if you're past the point of, is this toxic, and into, I need to get out, but I don't know how, then stay with me. What you need now is a safe, realistic way to move on and a way to feel like yourself again. Don't quit tomorrow, but don't linger on thinking things are going to get better by themselves. You don't need to put up with a toxic workplace forever. And I'm going to walk you through step by step a way to move forward. By the end of this video, you'll have a 5-step escape and recovery plan to protect yourself while you're still there, to get financially and emotionally ready, and to plan a realistic exit that doesn't blow up your whole life. If you're new here, welcome to my channel, Lucy on Life, where I use my 30 years of workplace experience, some great, some terrible, to help other people be happy at work and happy in life. I help you spot and survive toxic workplaces and figure out what a healthy, fulfilling career could look like for you and how to get there. I started this channel knowing that many people are having a hard time at work right now. I've been truly blown away by the comments to my videos so far. So many people are having experiences that are truly shocking, even to me, and I thought I'd seen it all. So let's start with step 1. The first step is really this: to confirm that what you're experiencing really is toxic and to stop making it all your fault. A toxic job isn't just, I had a bad week, or my manager was a bit grumpy on Tuesday. It's a pattern that builds and repeats over time. It's things like constant criticism without any praise, moving goalposts, having favourites in the office, having scapegoats in the office, fear, gossip, bullying, misuse of power, or a culture where you're expected to sacrifice your health or your personal life simply to survive. If you're coming home thinking, maybe I'm too sensitive or maybe I'm the problem, I want you to pause for a second. Healthy workplaces don't leave you doubting your sanity every week. One quick check you can do is to think about, if a friend told you that they were going through what you're going through, what would you tell them? In one of my former roles, even though I was relatively senior, heading up a team, I had a boss who was an incredible micromanager. She was always asking me for huge amounts of detail, wanting to know things that members of my team were doing, as well as what I was doing too. I realise now that she was hopelessly out of her depth. But it was only when she asked me to falsify some figures that we were putting together for a budget update that I realised that the problem was her and not me. If you've not watched my other videos on toxic workplaces, I'll link to those for you because they might help you name what's going on for you more clearly. But once you've named it and once you've realised that yes, this is toxic, then it's time to move straight on to step 2. And step 2 is about protecting yourself while you're still in this difficult workplace. Most people can't or don't want to just walk out of a job with nothing else to go to. It's just not realistic. You might need the income, you might have caring responsibilities, you need time to plan. So this step is all about damage limitation while you're still in that environment. There are a few really practical things you can start doing. The first, and I know I talk about this a lot, but it's really important, is to start documenting. Document the things that happen in the day-to-day workplace that are concerning you. The time, the date, who said what, who did what, and note it down. And if it's relevant, also include how it affected your work and how it affected you. You're not doing this to necessarily build a legal case, although it might come in useful if you ever did want to raise a grievance. You're doing this to have a clear record of what's happening and to help you make sense of it. When you see it written down, it can become much clearer that this is not just about you not coping, there are patterns going on. This log becomes evidence to justify your exit to yourself, to your partner, and even might be useful to refer to if you had to explain why you've moved on to a future employer. The second thing you can do while you're still there is to stop feeding the drama. In toxic environments, oversharing with colleagues can really backfire. Gossiping with someone else at work about something that your boss has done might feel like it brings a relief in the moment, but you don't know what they're going to do with that information. They might even repeat it to your boss, or it might be used against you in some other way. So try to keep things more neutral at work. Be polite, be professional, be competent, but keep your inner circle small and safe. And often that could be with people outside the organisation entirely. The other action you can take while you're still there is to experiment with micro boundaries. It's unlikely you'll be able to completely transform your workload or your boss, but you can protect yourself through this time. Simple actions like not replying to emails after hours or at weekends, saying I'll need to think about that and get back to you instead of automatically saying yes. Communicating your boundaries. Often we have boundaries that we've invented for ourselves, but we don't let other people know. So another example of a boundary could be, I need 48 hours notice if you want me to do something that requires deep thinking. How would somebody know if you haven't told them? Another boundary you can set is to be really clear about your capacity. If someone asks you to do something, tell them, I'd love to help you with this, but right now I'm completely busy with XYZ task. If you want me to prioritise this new piece of work, then let me know and I can delay the other action. So that's another boundary that you can set. You are completely allowed to have limits, and taking these actions are ways of you establishing those. And finally, don't go through this difficult time alone. Find somebody that you can trust, likely outside the organisation, somebody that you can vent with and share what's going on. This step is about keeping yourself stable and resourced while you're planning your next move. So let's move on to step 3, which is about getting yourself financially and emotionally ready to move on. Let's start with money. I'm no financial advisor, but I am realistic. Not everybody can leave a job with no job to go to. Take a look at your basic monthly expenses and work out what the minimum is that you need for your core ongoing bills and other expenses. Then think about how many months of those recurring expenses you'd like to have as a buffer before you decide to move on. It might be 3 months, it might be 6 months, it might be 1 month. Don't let the perfect number stop you doing anything at all. Something is always better than nothing. If walking out without another job to go to would put you in crisis, then your safety plan might be, I stay, but I cut some costs, I build up my buffer, and I start applying for new jobs. Also, check the basics of what you're entitled to. What's your notice period? Do you have unused annual leave that you could either be paid for or take before you leave? Are there any benefits that you could lose or alternatively gain depending on when you left? On the emotional side, ask yourself, who is on my support team? Who are the 1 or 2 people in your life that you can text and say, can we meet for coffee? I need to share things with you. I need to download. Who can remind you that you're not your job title? You might also want to think ahead about how you're going to look after yourself after you leave. Leaving a toxic job can obviously be a huge relief, but it can also stir up a lot of emotion like anger or self-doubt. Maybe that support looks like scheduling a couple of sessions with a therapist or a coach, planning some proper rest time if you can, or doing something symbolic that marks the end of that chapter of your life. Which stage are you at right now? Do you already know that your current job is toxic? Have you started planning your exit, building up that buffer? Or are you applying for jobs? I'd love to know. Let me know in the comments. I love to hear your feedback because it really helps me know what videos to make next. Okay, let's move on to step 4, which is about moving from I'm roughly going to leave at some time in the future into putting down some concrete plans. Start with a really simple question. If nothing about the current state in your employment were to change, same job, same role, same day-to-day tasks, same manager, same team, ideally, when would you want to be out? Don't overthink it. Just notice whatever pops into your head when you ask yourself that question. Is it as soon as possible? Is it in 3 months' time? Is it before the summer? And that first answer is really useful because it's your subconscious telling you what it already knows. If your gut said, I can't do this much longer, maybe that's around 3 months. If you know you'll need a bit more time to build up some savings, to get your CV sorted out, to get your head around this change that you're going to make, maybe plan for around 6 months' time. Write it down. I plan to be out of this job on X month, X year. It's not set in stone. You're allowed to move it. But by writing it down, you're making it more concrete. The moment you put a month and a year to your exit date, you start making it real. It stops being a vague fantasy and starts to become something that you're working meaningfully towards. Then let's break it into small, doable steps. A project plan for future you. Let's say you picked 4 months from now. It might look something like this. In month 1, you update your CV, tidy up your LinkedIn profile, share it with one trusted friend outside work, and explain to them, I'm thinking about moving on. Can I use you as a sounding board? Start casually browsing job ads maybe once a week and get a feel for what's out there. Month 2, start applying for a small number of roles that feel like a step towards something, not like running away. Maybe reach out to a few people in your network and share that you're thinking about moving on. You don't have to say how soon, but have a conversation with them about what's out there, what they're seeing in the industry, just informal catch-ups, if you like. Keep adding to your financial buffer, even if it's small amounts. Month 3, aim to be in some more formal conversations. Maybe by now you'll have secured an interview, or it's a more formal conversation with people in your network. Practice how you'll talk about your current role. Everything you've achieved, everything you've done. Check in with your planned exit date. Does it still feel right, or does it need nudging? Month 4, if you've got a job offer, that's absolutely fantastic. Now you're looking at notice periods and actual leaving dates. And if you haven't yet, you haven't failed, you've only just started, you've done an enormous amount of groundwork, and you can always extend your timeline by a month or 2 if that's what you need. And of course, during this time, you've been continuing to build up your savings buffer so that if you did need to leave without something to go to, you've got something set aside. The exact details of the steps in this plan don't really matter. The main thing is that you've got a list of activities that you're doing week in, week out, so that you can keep reminding yourself that you've done something, however small, towards your exit plan. Now let's talk a bit about what people dread the most, the conversations. How do I resign? What do I say in interviews? How honest can I be about the toxicity without sounding bitter? First, your resignation. In a toxic workplace, you don't owe anybody an explanation. You're allowed to keep it short and clean. Something like, I've decided that it is time for me to move on. I've accepted a job at another organisation. My leaving date will be X, and I'll make sure I do a full handover. And that's all you need to say. For interviews, think about a simple 3-part structure. A bit of context, what you've learned about yourself, and what you're looking for next. I've created a little script that you could adapt for your own use. It's been a steep learning curve at my current role, and I'm really proud of what I've delivered. Over time, I've realised that I do my best work in environments that are more collaborative. I'm now looking for a role where I'm building on my previous experience and developing new skills, which is why this role really appeals. Now you can adapt this to your specific context, your examples, but I thought I'd give you a framework. Somebody asked in the comments to one of my previous videos about how to explain leaving a toxic workplace. So I've put that in there for if it's helpful. You're not pretending that everything was fine, but neither are you naming and shaming. You're just stating, this is what I need to do my best work. So step 4 in a nutshell is set a hoped for leaving date over the next 3 to 6 months, a few goals for each month to move you on that path, a couple of simple rehearsed sentences for those big conversations. Once these are on paper, leaving starts to feel less like a sort of leap in the dark and more like following a plan, following a path, much more doable. Step 5, actually planning your exit and leaving as cleanly as you can. For many people, the safest time to resign is the time that you've been offered a new job and you have that firm written offer in place. For others, staying that long simply isn't safe or sustainable, and they decide to leave with a smaller safety net. There isn't one right answer here. It'll depend on your circumstances, your responsibilities, and your health. When you're ready to resign, keep your resignation letter simple and factual. You don't need to pour everything that's happened into that document. I am writing to resign from my job at X. My last working day will be Y, in line with my notice period. If you want to, and if you feel safe to do so, you can share what's been going on in an exit interview, but this is entirely optional. You are not obliged to risk upsetting yourself more trying to fix a culture, a workplace that has harmed you so much. And when you do finally leave, remember this: leaving a toxic job is not a sign of failure. It's an act of self-respect. You're allowed to want, and you deserve better, and you're allowed to want a better environment for yourself. Next steps: write down your 3 to 6 month leaving date and the 5 steps that I've gone through today. There's nothing wrong with wanting to get out. You're doing exactly what a responsible, self-respecting adult can do, which is to make a plan to move on to the next thing. If you're still not certain if your current job is toxic, then I will link to my Toxic Workplace series below so you can watch those videos next and work out for yourself. And if you'd like more support working through your options, I've created a digital downloadable workbook, which you can also find below in the comments, which will help you consider next steps and work through different scenarios and different questions to ask yourself. If you found today's video helpful, do give it a like to make sure that more people who are stuck in toxic workplaces get the chance to see it. Don't forget to subscribe so you'll never miss another video on being happier at work and in life. Thank you so much for being here. Take really good care of yourself and all the very best for the future. See you next time.